Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Orange County Industrial Development Agency Accelerator Committee meeting, Tuesday, June 7th. We'd like to welcome everyone, and we'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Flag is right here. Pledge of allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Bill,
Yes, so we've got let's see, 6 items on the agenda. We'll go as quickly as we can. We're going to start off with our guests. We have Tiara Oliver, who is a longtime subtenant of ours at the Middletown Accelerator. Her company is Exisude. I've gotten to know her over the last year. Try to give her some support. She's actually one of the tenants that stays in touch with us, that's trying to, move her business forward. So we do communicate often, which I do appreciate. And she had this concept where she's, I don't want to steal her thunder, but looking for some support from the IDA to conduct a clinical study in conjunction with Toro College, where, of course, the Middletown Accelerator is located. So we have Vasu and Tiara. Do you want to introduce Vasu properly and then let you get started with your presentation?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So we're here today on behalf of Exisude. Here's the product. It's a one product line right now, but we're looking to launch more products as well as engage in empirically rich research in the Hudson Valley. So that was one of the reasons that I made a proposal to Toro College, which Vasudhava Kamath is with us today. He's the research professor, one of them at Toro College, and he'll give you a proper introduction of himself once he speaks regarding CCCA. Do you all have the proposal?
Yes, everyone has it. They've all at least, reviewed it ahead of time, but they have it in front of them as well.
Okay, so I won't reiterate the things on the proposal, but just in brief to talk about, really in 2016, I developed Exisude, and there are alternative products cannot make curative claims, but the aim in developing Exisude was to reduce the symptomatology associated with eczema and other skin and scalp conditions. So it was a personally driven mission for me regarding the business. Then I began to personally experience hair loss, and I looked for reasons why I was experiencing this hair loss, as well as looking at the research and what was there to give me rationales about the hair loss that I was experiencing. So I began to look at the pathophysiology of that and look at the research and see what was there. And unfortunately, there was not a lot of research regarding CCCA. And as you see in your proposal, I've given you a description of that. So I began to ponder, and I started using Exisude on my scalp, which my scalp actually still has painful areas of discomfort. It has improved with intralesional steroid injections. It has improved with Exisude, the use of topically using Exisude. The burning in my scalp has decreased. So I began to really look at the lack of empirically rich data, as well as how can I substantiate Exisude, because I know that I'm personally experiencing some relief in symptoms from the product. So that really prompted me to talk with Vasu at Toro College, and we've been speaking about and corresponding about this for about a couple of years or so now, because it was pre-COVID. So, everything kind of got pushed back with that. But really, I wanted to broaden the way that we look at research and bring some of that empirically rich data here in the Hudson Valley, and really look at how we look at health burdens and what we consider health burdens to be. Because honestly, hair loss is a health burden, and it does cost the healthcare industry revenue from a psychological perspective, from a dermatological perspective, a pathophysiological perspective, because we have to look at all the components of the hair loss. And also it's causing people to have distress. There are many women that are coming forward about CCCA, which is really predominantly found in African-American women. So that is really where you all come in. We need some seed funding. We need to get this project off the ground. And we really need to bring to fruition some of the promises that were made to small businesses such as Exisude. I've been really self-funding the business, and it is difficult. And as Bill will attest, it's hard to get funding when you're in the beginning phases of your business. So this is beyond XC-Soothe. Would XC-Soothe have some benefit? Yes, I think that it will. But really, this is far beyond XC-Soothe, and it is far beyond me, but it doesn't have to be far beyond the IDA. So I'll let Basu, I'll pass the baton to you now.
Thank you, Tara. That was a wonderful, already you have introduced XC-Soothe and CCCA. That makes my job much easier. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Vasudev Kamath. I'm an assistant professor in biochemistry and genetics. So we are interested in this project because this is a wonderful opportunity for academia and the industry to collaborate and come up with solutions for a long-standing problem, which is a hair loss. So obviously today, after this meeting, we will not claim that we are going to solve the hair loss problem, but we are going to study. At the same time, we are going to have a product from Orange County, which is going to be helpful in certain cases of hair loss, particularly CCCA, which is a central centrifugal cicatricial alopecia. Of course, you don't have to worry about the entire name. For time being, let's stick with the CCCA. So when we say CCCA, it is predominantly seen in African American women. So somewhere from 2 to 7% of African American women actually suffer from this CCCA. And I saw today Orange County has almost 13.7% of people of color of African descent population. So I think this area actually is a wonderful opportunity to study the problems which is faced by African American population, especially women of color or African American descent. So the importance of this project within Orange County is being neglected for most of the healthcare issues. For example, if you look for dermatologists in Orange County, you will find very few of them. Most of them actually set up their shop in the cities, very close to the city, but whereas in Orange County, we do not have. So this opportunity we have to embark on, because here is the research opportunity. We already have 2 of our medical students who are working on this project. 5 more other students are also ready to get onto the project, but we do not have enough funds to accommodate all those students. So when we involve the medical students into a research, their interest in that area increases. Now they have interest in dermatology. And when we have a dermatology interest group of students working in this research from Orange County, we have more chances that they will set up their shop within Orange County. So that is our major aim, to train in the future dermatologists within Orange County and see that they set up their shop within Orange County. So that's first of all, that's our first aim. And the second one is to attract NIH grants. National Institute of Health grants are mainly absorbed from major universities. Orange County does not have major university. We do not get any NIH funding. So with this opportunity, we are going to collect some preliminary data. And with that preliminary data, we are going to ask for NIH funding. And what does NIH funding does? It creates job opportunity. So that's the second part. And the third part is we are coming up with the product here. So the product which is going to help many people, not only in Orange County, throughout the US as well as throughout the world, but the importance of that is it's going to be produced in Orange County. So the academia and the industry is collaborating. Academia is providing the reason, scientific merit to the product. Tiara, with her knowledge in product development, she is coming up with the product. So we are going to see whether her product can be actually elevated with the help of scientific knowledge. So for that, we are studying mitochondrial DNA copy number, which is a very important small organelle within cell. And that mitochondrial DNA can be varied. And if it reduces, that leads to cell death and hair loss. So animal studies have proved that there is a important link between mitochondrial DNA copy number and hair loss, but there is no human study. We need to do the human study in order to come up with the product. So first of all, we do not have many studies in African descent population or people of color. So we need to do research in those populations. There are incidental reports of various cancer, which is predominant in African American population because of the decrease in mitochondrial DNA copy number. So this will actually enhance the current knowledge of mitochondrial DNA copy number involvement in various health issues within African American descent population. So I think I have already noted down 4 important aspects in this project. So job creation is one, getting NIH funding is a very important aspect. And third, to come up with the product which can help not only in people in Orange County, but people throughout the world. So if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer. Because I think I did not want to go much into the scientific details because of, I wouldn't say because I think we have a various people from different walk of life. So it will be difficult for me as well as for them to understand what I'm going to talk in scientific terms. So I wanted to keep the scientific terminologies very less, but I wanted to give you the reason why we are seeking this funding. So this is a very important opportunity, a collaboration between academia and the industry to come up with a better product. I think that itself is enough for time being. If you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer.
Yes, and I just want to speak to and wrap up to the multifaceted approach of this this research study. We'll start by looking at the mitochondrial DNA copy, which, as Vasu has mentioned, is pertinent to multiple etiologies of different disease processes. But we'll also, I really think that we'll get a chance to look at some of the other components, like the psychological components, the environmental components. We'll get a chance to look at socio-environmental components. We'll get a chance to even look at fiscal components, because when you have a lack of money, which is prevalent in certain social economic environments, then that is a stressor. Your body begins to release more cortisol, you have more epinephrine, and that is not something that your body should be living with all the time, which also interferes with the hair growth cycle. So we'll get a chance to really look at some multifaceted components of the study, and IDA will get to position themselves as one of the founders of the funding. So I actually will look forward to you all investing more than once on this project, because it really is far reaching. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I can't see everyone.
It's hard to see all of us.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
We don't have the great, we got moved, we don't have the greatest technology set up right now, but
Okay.
we can see you well.
We can see you very well.
We can, and hear you loud and clear. Before we open it up to the board members, in this case, committee members in this venue here as Accelerator committee members. First of all, it was a great presentation, great overview. And I think I told you this before, I think it's a very well put together proposal, really well written, and certainly it's important. You know the history, the recent history with the IDA, Tiara. We've talked about it a lot. You're part of the collateral Accelerator client with what happened. Of course, there was a misuse of funds. This is a new board of directors that has to be as responsible as ever and very fastidious about how any funds are being spent. Eradicating alopecia, for example, in women of African descent would not be justification for this board, for the Industrial Development Agency, whose mission is to grow the local economy, to create jobs, et cetera. That would not be justification for them, speaking for them, to invest in this. However, if there are ways that it meaningfully grow, again, helps grow the economy, helps create jobs. I don't know if it's through Exasooth or through other businesses or potential businesses. If I could ask you just to restate some of what you touched on, but maybe go further as to the economic impact, and again, with the idea that you would be providing justifications to why this IDA board could vote to provide you financial support to meet and support their mission.
Okay, so you spoke in overarching regarding some of the areas that it's fiscally driven and you would see a return on investment. That's kind of overarching. Specifically, job creation. So you need an investigator, you need a sponsor for your study. Generally, the sponsor will be funding the study. Right now, Toro College has stepped up to actually do the study, but we do, we would like an official sponsor. We need that. Then you need the investigator. That has to be a paid position unless you know someone who wants to volunteer their time for the study over maybe 1 to 2 years or so. You also need a subclinical investigator. You need research coordinators. That's just for the study. And that's just some of the positions. Then on the side of the product creation, you need someone who, well, I've developed the first and only formula. So that had to be analyzed. It had to go under get a certificate of analysis. So if I look to continue to manufacture that product in a way that it's going through a certified lab, that has to be paid for. So that's about $3,000 there. So all of these things, these would be jobs, different jobs that people could get, and different collaborations, like the hemp farms. I have already collaborated with them. Now those are areas where the funds would be used, but that's also jobs. That's also people who have to do all of those things. So that's about, I think, 10 jobs, maybe 8 to 10 jobs right there that I've explained.
Yeah.
And that's minimum, really.
Thank you.
Yes. My name is Vincent Odok, and I've done a lot of research in different areas.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. I just wanted clarification. It's a good concept. I mean, what you are doing right now is very good, But the question is in the area of research now. The sample size now, I mean, in order to have representative of different groups, are you having people, not just those in the United States, would the sample size include the blacks from maybe other areas? Because the sample size, we use that for generalization of the population. We use the sample size, the mean. So to what extent then would you, in terms of sample size, would you just concentrate on Orange County?
Well, that's an excellent question. Yes. And to Vasu's point, how he said that this would not be just Orange County, not just the United States, but it's a far-reaching health. Vasu, I don't know if you want me to.
I can talk. Yeah. Okay. So in our proposal, currently we have given a small sample size, but in our future, this is because this is going to be a preliminary data collection step. So we want the initial funding for our collection of preliminary data. And once we collect the preliminary data, as I mentioned, we are going to apply to the NIH grant, where we are going to expand this study. So the current study is just to get some preliminary data. And once we have some preliminary data, we are going to go with a bigger proposal to NIH, which will be for 5 years term. NIH R01 grant is supported, it supports the research in a particular area for 5 years. And that means it will be almost $500,000 grant. And in that $500,000 grant, there will be opportunity for creation of 3 to 4 jobs, which are well-paid jobs within the area. And about the population which we are studying, as I mentioned, it won't be only in the area of Orange County. It will be also in the peripheral areas such as Sullivan County, Dutchess County, or other New Jersey counties apart from that. So we are going to collect samples because, as I mentioned, there are only 3 to 7% of the population is affected with the CCCA. But if you see, there are many more people who suffer from hair loss. So we are not currently studying hair loss as such. We are studying a very small population, which is a people who are affected with the CCCA, and that too in an African American population, and that too in a women in African American descent. So our the focus is now narrow, but when we apply to NIH, we will be expanding the focus so that we will include men, we will include other ethnic groups, so that we can understand the variations in the ethnic group, how the hair loss is happening. So we are going to understand that in a bigger study. But for a current study, we have to be focused. So, and our focus is only on CCCA. And with that in mind, we have a small sample size just to get an idea of whether we are right or wrong to pursue further for a bigger NIH grant. So this is going to be a small study, and we want it to be funded so that we can generate enough preliminary data, so that NIH requires some preliminary data, because they will not fund $500,000 grant without any concrete concept with the some data generated. Right now, to be very honest with you, we haven't generated any data. We have been just planning. We have been reading a lot of literatures, and we are collecting the information. Now we are ready to produce preliminary data. And we are very sure that it will show some data, because we already have an animal study which is being proved. So once we have studies in animal, we have to now see that the same thing can be actually seen in a human studies. So with that in mind, we will collect a bigger sample size once we have a bigger study plan. Right now, it is a small sample size and within Orange County.
One more additional question. Now, physically, the characteristics of the target population right now, is it somebody that's completely bald you start with, or people starting to lose patches here, patches there? What would be a target characteristic of the population?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Characteristic of the population.
I couldn't hear the question.
Yeah, physically, the target population you'll be going after now in terms of characteristics, would that be those that are completely bald that you start with, or those that are beginning to have bald patches all over their head?
Okay, so CCCA, this particular type of hair loss, its characteristics are not completely bald. It is something that is progressive in nature. It's mediated by the immune system, and it's thought to be an autoimmune disease. So the characteristic of presentation is not generally bald, but you will see thinning, particularly in the crown of the scalp, characterized by scarring, as well as discomfort, sensitivity to temperature. Those are the characteristics that you see with this particular type of hair loss, but there are other types of hair loss.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Dean Tamboria, by the way.
Hi.
How you doing today? I really appreciate this what you have described to us and what you're trying to do here. I think it's fantastic. I mean, I have family members with eczema. I know quite a few people with maybe not this CCCA, but alopecia and the struggles that they've gone through. Autoimmune disease, etc. I think your research is fantastic. I really do. But as a board member on the IDA, this isn't really under our purview of what this is more to me anyway. First of all, I don't think I'm qualified even to say that what you're doing, because it's so complicated and you guys are so intelligent. To say what the research, what the money would be going for, and to, I really think, and I'm glad we heard the presentation, because a lot of times we see people in different areas or whatever, and this is just for me, but it's more like, to me, it's like a venture in someone who does like venture capital investing for one of these items and whatnot for the research that you're looking for. That's kind of where I am. But I'm glad I heard it because we attend meetings, other meetings and whatnot, and we always try, as our chairman Mike Torelli has said several times, we're trying to put people together. And if we're other locations or whatever, we're always trying to put other businesses and people together that I think it would fit more of their company's investment type strategies. That's kind of where I stand on this. That's Dean's where I stand on it. To expend this, I think we're getting into scientific research. I think that's a stretch for what our mission statement here. Now, I hope you guys stay here. I hope I can find somebody to put you guys together. I hope as you start to grow or find something else, you need a place to put some of the manufacturing, whatever. We would always look to help. We'll always listen to what else you guys have to go move forward. And I will definitely be out there, as Bill and I discussed, a couple other accelerators, putting businesses together and get people on the right track. So, but I apologize. That's where I stand. I think what you're doing is fantastic.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just have a question, because I'm trying to see this through to the end game, and the end game would be to create an additional product for your product line that you could sell and market, correctly? Am I correct in that?
I can see where you understood that, but that wouldn't be one of the end games. The end games would include increasing empirically rich data in the Hudson Valley, involvement of Black and Brown people in scientific research and creation of jobs, which may land with the Exisuit company.
Okay. All right.
I had a question. Great presentation. Do you know, have you applied for a CFA grant or anything through Empire State Development yet? Have you?
Not yet, no.
So yeah, the problem with those bigger grants is, as I mentioned, they all look for preliminary data. So our first aim is not only just to do scientific study, but to give some kind of push towards this product formation. So I think the product is got some lot of potential, but unless and until we show some scientific merit to that product, I think there is no much of a benefit to any mankind. So I think the initial step is this, where we are actually asking for some kind of support so that we can get some preliminary data and go for different funding opportunities. NIH being one of them, but then there are other. Skin of Color is another association which actually funds research for people who are working in the area of people of color. Not only CCCA as such, but various other researches are done there. Skin of Color Association, I think that there is another opportunity there also. Again, whenever we get the grant, we need to support it with the human, we need some experts on board. As Tiara already mentioned, we will need a medical advisor, we will need a technician, we will need a person to get us the product. So all those things. So there will be a lot of job creation happening with this help. But this is the preliminary study. And of course, in the preliminary study also, we can look forward to creating job right now. But not many, but eventually once we have a higher grant support, we can actually create much more jobs. So that's our plan. So that's it.
I could just comment on that, on the CFA application that Mr. Trelli was talking about, the consolidated funding application through Empire State Development. I do not believe that they would look for a baseline of research because this is an Empire State, an economic development incentive. So they're going to be focused like we are on job creation, on capital investment, what are you putting into it? So those will be kind of the main metrics as they always are when they're, assessing your project. But I don't think it would require it. And I just want to throw it out there. I acknowledge to my board members that I know this is somewhat outside of my normal duties, but I would gladly, I've consulted with companies about the CFA process. I'd love to, I think I maybe mentioned it to you in the past, but if it's something you'd want to pursue, I can give you a very brief overview and help you pursue with Empire State Development.
Okay, yes, I definitely welcome that. I do have a question because you stated a couple times that job creation is a part of the mission of the IDA. So I just wanted to kind of circle back around to Dean and what did he feel that being that this project you stated would create jobs, how did that differ from the pursuit of the IDA in Dean's opinion?
Because of the research piece of it, that's all. To me, it's just the research piece of it. But again, that is just the way I feel about it. But listen, I think what you guys are doing fantastic, but I don't think it fits for medical research items for this.
If I could, Tara, I think to me personally, it would be a lot more helpful if I would see a list of hires that would be needed. So then we would know when you say it's job creation, exactly what job creation is being done. You have on your cover letter here, 30,000 to support research study with a research assistant. That's one job. You have 30,000 to easy smooth product line expansion and $10,000 for study subjects and supplies. A breakdown again of where those jobs are going to be in there besides the research assistant. I know for me personally, I can't speak for the rest of my board because it is economic development. What would be, what jobs would be brought into the county for us to support that we can turn around to the taxpayers and say, well, this brought in this kind of economics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tiara, can I take this once?
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. So yes, I'm glad that you brought this up. I think research, although it is a research project, as I mentioned in my beginning talk, that this is a collaboration between the academia and the industry. So it won't create job in terms of people who work in this project. It will create human medical doctors who are going to set up their shops in this area. Why? Because if they are studying in Toro College and if they are interested in becoming dermatologists, we will create the future dermatologists who are going to stay in the area. Once if they set up their shop, they themselves will create much more jobs because one doctor's office requires many more jobs. So here is an opportunity to expose the future doctors to a medical field which they are going to get interested in. Once they are interested and invested in the project for a long time in that particular area, in the physical area of Orange County, they will set up their shop because there is already a evidence which says that if you train the doctors in that area, there is high likelihood of they setting up their shop in that area. So Orange County does not have many dermatologists. So this will create an opportunity for some medical student to explore the area of dermatology, specifically in hair loss or CCCA, and they will actually get involved in this research. The moment they get involved in this research, there is an investment by the student, there is a knowledge development. So all that thing will actually generate future doctors who are going to set up their shop here in this area. So that is the major focus of academia and industry collaborating and coming up with these type of projects. So I hope I made my point clear. I think this is not a job in terms of industrial job or in terms of any skilled worker job, but this is like creating future doctors, especially dermatologists, which this area lacks. So we need to create interest in the future doctors to get into this area. So that is our aim.
Yes, thank you, Vasu. And I think that Vasu spoke to the, more of a rich and robust future regarding kind of narrowing the gap with being disadvantaged in the medical field and how that directly correlates with certain socio environments. But and I'm sorry, your name, please. I can't say again. Susan, is it Susan? To Susan's
Yes.
More right now point, there's the research assistant, that will be a paid position. A person who would also work on the formulary in the product expansion, not only developing the formulary with myself, but then actually manufacturing that is a job. The person who would package and label the products and actually get it to the market, that's another job. What does the IDA get in return for that? If you get a product right here from the Orange County that you were one of the founding investors in, and that product line actually expands, that I think, you're positioning yourself really well for that. Not only just the research, which I understand, Dean, that's out of the purview of the IDA, but the jobs that you're creating right now, which, $60,000, $70,000 is not going to go a long way with jobs more than maybe a year, depending on what what that pay is. But to Vasu's point, you have the students who this is part of their didactic curriculum actually in on the study, invested in the study. And if they continue to have that level of investment, we already see Hudson Valley is changing, Orange County is changing. We see it rapidly. So those young doctors, to Vasu's point, might actually say, hey, I like it up here. And I was involved in the study and I got to meet a lot of people, and I got to meet people from the other tour campuses in the city and in California, but I'm going to actually stay here and I'm going to set up my shop here. Now you're helping with narrowing that gap of disadvantaged communities, and you're actually helping with, in a broader spectrum, with actually decreasing healthcare burdens like hair loss and other healthcare burdens, because you now have a qualified DO, doctor of osteopathic medicine, setting up shop right here. Now, if you can position yourself to be part of the solution of the problem, I think that's worth $60,000 or $70,000. And then, then there's the futuristic jobs from there as well.
I do not want to cut this short, but we are running short on
Okay.
time. And if anyone has any other critical questions now, but otherwise, I think we'll let Vasu and Tiara go. We have a little more discussion and move on with other agenda items. Okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Tiara,
thank you so much.
Yeah.
I texted you, Tiara, just to remind you how you can live stream the rest of the meeting, but of course you can catch up with me as always, all right?
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen. I think it was wonderful catching up with you all on the topic. I think hopefully you will find our presentation interesting, as well as this opportunity much more interesting to fund. I would look forward to hearing from you very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
So at this point, I guess the committee would take a vote if we were to bring it to the full board or not. I guess that's our procedure.
Any further discussion?
Anybody have any further discussion, obviously?
Is this the first time that we are getting involved in a research project? The first time?
I'm unaware of any.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be one of the things that I would like is, in an open discussion portion, is to maybe get an opinion of council as if this is allowed by state statute on the IDA side, or does this have to be on the capital funding side? I don't know the answer to that, but that's something that I'm not sure.
I think we need to ask our council whether.
Yeah, so I think, I would support tabling it until we had a little more information to see what our capabilities are.
And I would also want to table it to see if any other IDAs or accelerators have gotten involved in medical research projects. Because it's a great
Are
line.
we, listen, I agree with him, but I also have to say, are we even qualified sitting here to expend the money of, I don't even know if I still fully understand of the research and the chemicals and this, and that. I mean, what are we, again, I can read this, whatever. Now, if there's someone who has some sort of medical, obviously they have a lot of medical background or whatever, but a little bit more, I don't even know if I want any more detail. I just don't think I'm qualified to say this is something that we're going to get into research of specific medical items.
That's why I wanted to gear the questions back to the economic side.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
What are we helping to instigate?
And you asked a great question. You obviously, it's a great question. Well, they're all great questions. However, it's like, it seems like the money's, yes, in packaging, et cetera. I get that. However, there isn't a product yet.
Well,
We don't know if there's ever going to be a product, right? We hope there is. We really do. We hope there is a product one day and whatever. But I mean, I think this would maybe even open the floodgates for people to come in and say, well, if you did that type of research, there's other researches and whatever.
I think it would be a little bit different if they said, hey, we have a grant,
Mhm.
but we need to front load it with some money that's gonna get repaid by such and such institution,
well,
you know, or something like that. That's a little bit different ask than just coming and asking for a placing.
my personal is the presentation did not match the letter.
But again, I mean, listen, I'm not going to get into, I could get into
Right.
quite a few things, like, for example, as a gentleman spoke to, there's dermatology, I just Googled, there's 12 dermatologists in Goshen. Whether they're in their office or not, but that's what this is, officer. Is that a lot for this area? That I don't know.
I know it's
Do we
at least
need
a
more or not? I don't know, but we don't
90-day
even,
waiting
we don't even, I
period.
know we don't even have that research, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how, I don't know if that is even a factual that I even understand yet. So, I mean, for me anyway, I mean, if we can get the other information, you guys want to table together the information, but I'm gonna be honest with you, for me, with some of the other things, to me, it's a stretch for that. If we can put them together with somebody who does venture capitaling or whatever, or some drug companies or whatever who do a lot of this all the time, that's what they do. And they can present to somebody who actually understands how they're coming up with this product. I don't think I'm qualified to say that they're close to, they could be this, they could finish it tomorrow if we gave them, $100. I don't know that.
Maybe there's someone that Bill can look into, maybe like a Regeneron or Pfizer or someone that, maybe they give like small grants to startups that do, I don't know.
That's
but
kind of what, you know what I'm saying?
They're
The same issues that we're talking about.
billion-dollar companies that have.
Putting these
Yeah.
companies together,
Yeah.
I don't know, Medline, maybe they know somebody of some.
Maybe someone knows
products
somebody,
or something like that. But again, I don't believe I'm gonna come off of that. I don't know if that.
Yeah, like I was trying to find out where she was going with the 30,000 more for product line expansion. That's what I really wanted to hear about. If she's got a product that she's selling now and she's looking to expand that and manufacturing is taking place in the OC and products being purchased through the OC.
I understand that, but I don't even know if that's what we would do.
But again, this is, that
I
I
don't
would
even know if we
be.
would expend money even for that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but that's something.
Yeah,
like you
I'm just
said,
saying,
Maybe it goes back to the funding court where they would take some sort of loan to get up going. I don't know. But we, unfortunately too, just again, the taxpayers' money, we haven't done great with recovering a lot of those monies as well. So
Yeah, but
no fault to anybody.
again, when we do it to A,
then we have
B
to-
comes around with the same research problem. We find it difficult to say to B, no, we cannot, because we've done it to A. So we have to look at the trend.
Right, we have to look at what are the benefits to the entire county, not just to a small community.
It would be fantastic if they did this. I mean, there's just
Absolutely.
people, I mean, one of my first things is like, I wrote some notes. Listen, I know people obviously with eczema, but the alopecia, thank you. And, but also people that with COVID have been losing hair as well. For whatever reason, no one knows. I mean, maybe it has some, if they hit something with that, I mean, it could be fantastic. But again, personally, that's the way I feel.
Bill, do you know if during the CFA process, there's any capital investment, or not capital investment, like capital funding? I think there was one that was statewide. I know there's some like regional ones. I know Orange County used to have one. I don't know if that's part of the CFA umbrella of all those different alphabet soup entities or not, but.
Like a revolving loan fund type program, or what do you mean?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, there are capital grant programs within the CFA, because of course, if those that don't know, CFA is Consolidated Funding Application again, Empire State or New York's Empire State Economic Development Funding. And the funding comes from several different buckets, some of which are refundable tax credits. Others are actually cash grants like Main Street grants and things like that. But you apply through one application and get matched up with those various buckets. So there are some that fit this. I'm not sure, but I can research that. So I'll do a little research. Shall we have this on the agenda for, as the chairman, for next Wednesday? If I get these answers just for further consideration, are we tabling it even further? How do we think we proceed with this?
Well, I think absent a vote at the committee level, we can't bring it to the board for review. I mean, we can talk about it, but I don't think we can vote on it unless the committee decides to support it moving forward.
And they could come back and bring it up again. They could always bring it back up again. I mean, but.
Yeah, the way it's presented tonight, I agree with you, Dean. I don't see this as something really within our scope. Because we are, the accelerator is like under a super microscope right now.
Well, this to me would be.
And I want the opinion of council before we even.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Is it even something that's eligible that we can do? I don't think it is, but I'm not.
We're not council, that's why they have ESQ.
So I would say, if you want to ask council or whatever, but at this point in time with everything on I would like to, if we took a vote, I would be a no vote.
I think we should hear from the county first and see.
Council first?
Yeah, where we're going.
I'm leaning no, but because I don't think it's in our bailiwick. I don't think that it's something that's eligible for us to do. I don't think granting of money to projects is something that we're allowed, but I'll leave it up to council for.
Even if council said you could, I still
don't
don't feel that I am even qualified. If they told me what the research was, that would be appropriate for me to make a recommendation to spend the county's money in that way.
I'm leaning with you gentlemen again, no, for a couple of reasons. I know when it comes to medical research, there is money out there. There is a lot of money.
Well, there you
out
go.
there.
So I don't interrupt you, but maybe we can make a connection. I know I'm going to ask, soon several people when we see them at different meetings and whatnot. So.
Most of the larger stockholding pharmaceutical companies work hand in hand with colleges for information. That's where their scientists work off of preliminary studies for them to develop products.
They love it. I mean, they're making a lot of money. They like to spend the money and trying to find the next.
I think they're required to in some instances.
Yeah, it depends on, their structure.
That's another good. Are we even getting something that we even know that we're not even that we can, that there are going to be some ramifications somewhere else down the line?
And the other part of that is, the part of this is cosmetic. Let's face it, that's a cosmetic thing, hair loss and stuff, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry globally. Orange County, from what I know of it, is not even set up to even play in that field.
Right. So, and maybe someday they will be, but so if put a vote to bring it to the full board, anyway, I'll make a motion not to bring it to. I'm sorry. Did you want to make any more additional comments? I'm sorry.
Other IDA all over, not just the county, have they received any project like this? I mean, so look around and
I'll do some research on that.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I don't know if you're ready to even make a vote or recommendation. I think you want to get more information, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll probably get it to you in between meetings, and then you decide how you want it.
But I also will add to this. I hope everybody doesn't think I'm, demeaning their issues and whatever else. But we spent an hour on. We have how many more? We have some things.
The rest will go
We're supposed to
faster.
be
I hope.
doing, consolidating a little bit, but that's just another comment. So I apologize.
In our defense, the one thing I will say is at least we're doing this in committee meeting where we're trying to spread out.
I agree 100%.
And
I
dig in a little
have
bit.
no complaints with the time, whatever, but again, I just think I should do it.
Well, yeah, it's a considerable amount of time, no question about this, absolutely. So we do need to keep moving. So, okay, thank you. More to hear about that. I'll do some research and report back to you. Second item on the agenda is about the Warwick Accelerator site, which, we've been talking about it. I think it's pretty clear that before long, that will be our only accelerator site. And the chairman and I had a lunch meeting with the supervisor of the town of Warwick several months ago, and we talked about the future of it. They certainly wanted us to continue running it the best we could. And I wouldn't say it's a terrible burden for us operationally, but because the town doesn't want to operate it, but they still see value there. So it is the one location. And at the end of this meeting, if time allows, I'll get into our updated spreadsheet of all our rents being paid and what's being paid to us and serve the subtenants. But we pay virtually nothing for that location. We pay $1 for the entire term of the lease, which I believe is 5 years. So it's not like we're up against just a huge gaping hole of loss. Again, we do receive subtenant rent from the clients there. And starting this year, it was never done before, but the leases dictate that the tenants, subtenants have to pay their share of the CAMs. That was never billed before. We did it this year for the first time. We're going to do it going forward. So we are recouping those. With that said, all of our leases there, we have 3 clients. They're all expired, the leases. With 3 clients, Honey Buzz, which is a personal care product business. Some products, which is why it fit in here, utilize CBD, trying to play off that. Actually, that's Farm Body. And then Honey Buzz is a partnership between the owner of Farm Body and one of our other Middletown accelerator clients, Alternate eSource. And Honey Buzz is a partnership between them. They'd like to continue. And then we have Junonia Group, which is really DBA scripted fragrance. I've talked about them because they're one of our bigger success stories. She's a candle maker. It's a family-owned business, and they've grown quite a bit. They've had some great exposure. So the business is picking up tremendously. They're taking more and more space. They have over time at the Warwick site. So basically, I have leases that I've shared with you. 2 are renewals because those leases for Honey Buzz and saying Farm Body or Body at Rest, they use both names. They've expired, so it would be to renew those leases for another year. And Scripted Fragrance has asked to rent the last 2 available spaces in the Manor House, which is the Warwick location. Right now they have suites 3, 4, 7, and 8, and they're looking to take on suites 5 and 6, and then every single space in the Warwick Accelerator site would be full. So, which is good. And again, not at a loss for us, generally speaking. There was some staff time, no question. Some maintenance stuff here and there, very small, but generally speaking, we don't pay anything in rent. We're getting subtenant rent, getting the CAMs reimbursed. So it's not a gaping hole like some of the other locations. I can give you more specifics. Again, I shared the leases with you, but we're looking to see if you would recommend it going to the board next week for board approval of these renewals and the new lease for 2 additional spaces for Scripted Fragrance.
Well, this would be a completely new lease that would be signed.
Yes, suites 5 and 6 for Scripted Fragrance would be completely new.
Terms would be, is 30-day cancelable by either party without cause in
Yeah.
those leases?
I have to make sure that that's in there. We did that in Middletown because we were open to the idea of maybe getting out early if Turo or someone else wanted to get in there. I'm going to review that and make sure that's in there. And if not, we'll add that.
You can look at that.
Yeah,
And then the other question I had is, they don't go past our lease term, correct? The end date or the term or the lease expiration date does not go past our lease expiration date with the LDC.
That is correct.
Those are 2 things that we just want to check, I think, all the time.
Right, 100%. But you definitely have to get that, make sure you have all those cleaned up.
Yes.
Make sure we don't have any loose ends.
To clarify, our lease in Warwick, a 5-year lease signed in November 1st of 2020, and it expires November 1st, 2025. So we do have, obviously 3 more years there plus, and this would just be for another year.
So my question on this would be, is their security deposit going to be increased to match the current rent that we're charging?
I think that's a very worthwhile suggestion. Increasing that, asking for additional.
It should match.
Yeah, I don't know what our norm is. Is it 3 months? I mean, there's some industry norms out there, but whatever, and
Some very low amounts we've used, so I
yeah.
don't think they're using a standard amount.
whatever that, would
It
potentially
should at
be.
least match the current.
And are they tenants in good standing? Obviously, I don't think you would bring someone in front of us that's not a tenant in good
No,
standing.
these are all in good standing.
And they all have proper insurances and those type of things.
Yes,
So
they do.
those are all little like checkbox items that you want to
Absolutely.
make sure about.
And I'm just, I'm not an attorney, I'm just making sure here our subtenants can't sub it out to somebody else.
Yes, that's absolutely a stipulation.
Okay. It's a hefty lease to go through. Well, it has to be, and I understand that.
And we had county attorney.
Yes, we
do
did.
these, that's our process, I think, is
Absolutely.
that we were using the county's attorney to write leases to alleviate some of the counsel that we have to do for all the other stuff. They offered that, and I think we accepted that.
We did, and our general counsel was more than happy with that. And have, that segment of our legal review done by her. So Donna Badura in the county attorney's office, she's been wonderful. She's good.
She's been doing it for 30 years.
She has. I will review those items she picked out though, make sure that, double check that everything's in here and add the clause if needed for the 30-day out clause. Any other questions, comments at all?
I'm looking here at security. Tenant shall cooperate and assist tenant with maintaining security. There should be something in there that a subtenant, which is to have additional security, it should be at the subtenant's expense, not at our expense.
Okay.
Security, it says that they're supposed to cooperate. However, if a tenant wants to put in cameras and security, that should fall strictly on the subtenant and not on us. And they should be the one entirely responsible for that contract, and we should not be, as tenant in major, liable for it.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, it's good. Mr. Chairman, do you want to have a vote for these leases after I check on all this and make any last minute edits to be sent to the board next week?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make the motion to move it to the full board.
Second it?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's 4 ayes. And Mr. Torelli, you seconded, right?
Yes.
Great, excellent. Okay, that's that. Much quicker. That didn't take an hour. And next, I just want to give you some updates on where we stand in a couple of the accelerator sites. First of all, I'll take the easier ones. Newburgh and Middletown. Middletown, we've continued to try and bring in any other tenants, be in contact with the subtenants there to try and get them more engaged and be more present, because that's still an issue there. Our lease is done there basically around Thanksgiving this year. We did send a letter to the other accelerator sites upon Chairman Torelli's request, notifying them that, to be clear, our lease ends on this date. You have to be out. We're not going to pay for additional months, this, that, and the other. I need to send that to Middletown, and I will, to give them a good 5 months notice on that, because we don't want a problem like we have had to a degree in New Windsor, where they held over longer. Really, in that case, it was because they were trying to negotiate with the town and it was just slow going. But we don't want to be in that situation if we're being asked to pay additional rents. So that'll go out shortly. Middletown is really status quo, more than, I'd say, 3/4 empty. And we're trying to reduce costs there. Cleaning, we're just putting, actually, I got 3 bids for cleaning. We're gonna look to reduce that cost as well. But it's basically status quo, with some that are more engaged than others, like Tara, I speak to often, at least every other week, because she's trying to get help to move her business forward.
I think it would be probably good practice to also include in that letter the landlord's contact. So if they wanted to stay, they can contact them. So it's all in one letter. It's all pretty simple and basic. I think everyone would probably agree on that. Is, if they want to stay, they can deal directly with the landlord that we're dealing with.
Right.
Leave us out of it.
Yeah.
That's a great suggestion. Okay. Newburgh, 603 and 605 Broadway. You may recall back in June of last year, based upon the New York State Comptroller's report, which said explicitly that any contracts, leases, et cetera, that we entered into after 2015, after there was a conflict of interest with the board members being on payroll for the prior managing director, that our leases are void. And we used that a couple of times with Highland Falls, which was, of course, like the largest kind of catastrophe, kind of poster child for the accelerator gone bad, I will say. So, but New Newburgh, we have not been paying rent there for a while, though we have been receiving rents to a degree for some time that we're passing on to our landlords there. We're going to stop that now. We've actually stopped that last month where we said just remit payment to the landlord. We're out from the middle of it. We've been working with them, especially as New Windsor is closing, to resolve any remaining equipment. We're trying to either sell them or if it goes to, if it was owned by TSEC and they determine that it goes somewhere, we're just trying to clear all that out so that we're completely clean when it comes to Newburgh. I do give credit to the landlords there, Before Holdings, the Bloomers specifically. They really care about trying to keep some of these tenants. They've even taken one of our other tenants from New Windsor and brought them in. I know they are looking, they've come to me about trying to do their own accelerator, and I have to be honest, I've not recommended it. Made it clear that there's not a lot of funding for it. There's additional costs that look at the setup we had to have here to make it work, and it still was an enormous loss. So I do think it serves an important purpose. Small business doesn't get enough support, but it doesn't make sense it's not financially responsible for us to continue doing it. So Newburgh, we will again doing our best to take care of the clients there, make sure they land softly, but before long we're completely disassociated. New Windsor, our leases have all expired except one that expires at the end of this month. One last building. Mello is a fashion and bag manufacturer, a few things he makes. He was quite successful. He was not able to negotiate with the town of New Windsor to stay. However, he found another location. It sounds like it's in Warsing. Across the parking lot from him, Secco Silkscreen, looks like they're staying. They have not yet signed a lease, but they have been negotiating with the town of New Windsor to stay. We also, as you know, from the last board meeting, we dispensed with any of the equipment that we owned. We sold it to either of those parties. Secco did pay us a check for what they're purchasing. We've not received payment yet from Mello. He's disputing a couple of things. I'm a little worried about that relationship. I will go to Warsing if I have to, because we want to get payment. He's also left some things in the spaces, and that's the last thing we want to do out of respect for our landlords. So we do need to clean things up with them, but they are transitioned out. Secco is in there looking to stay. I'll let you know if and when they sign a lease. Glenberry, the handbag company that's been kind of AWOL for a while, they still have some items stored in the Secco, one of their suites. So we're trying to resolve that. I was on the phone with them. They had a death in the family, so it's caused a little delay. But generally, New Windsor, again, by the end of this month, we should be pretty much out of that. So those are the updates there.
Transferring utilities, all that stuff like that.
Absolutely. All done. We're up to date with that.
Garbage, all that.
Absolutely.
Water,
A
sewer,
lot of those
gas,
we're just cutting off. Definitely. Yeah,
There's
that's
a lot of, it'll clean up the line items on all those accounts
Absolutely.
payable. I mean, it'll make it a
Sure
lot.
will.
It just got easier.
exactly. It'll be a lot faster.
But well, the last thing, we gotta get you out of the leasing business.
Right.
I mean, the time you're spending, just what I heard the phone calls and everything, we really need to get you out of that business. But like, back to what everyone was saying, is there somewhere we do some sort of walkthrough and sign off from our attorney, something where the owner says, listen, we're clear. It's clean, it's done, there's no mistaking, and we end it. I don't know how all that works. I'm doing this, whatever, I just
We
like.
can ask council to create a release that we have the landlord sign, so we have no further liability.
Whatever.
It would be
You
not
meet them down there
unrealistic.
or with somebody, I don't know. And, everybody signs off that everything we're done, we're complete. Nobody's gonna say you left something in this closet, you forgot, there's a bill,
Right.
everybody is clear, there's nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't-
And you're thinking the release from our landlord, as Sue was saying, for us, not to do with
There's
subtenants.
no other liabilities, there's no cleaning, there's no.
At the end of the day, the liability is ours, even though it was
course.
subleased. So if we can be released from that liability, then nobody can come around and bite us.
Exactly. Second to last, we may be almost done. I'm just going to warn you. Security deposits. We have between New Windsor and Newburgh, we have some security deposits because again we're out, especially in Newburgh, but we have not refunded some security deposits. Same thing in New Windsor yet, but I wanted to pose it to the board now or next week. I have the amounts here, for Sutco Silkscreen, $550 is what they paid, Rondon Footwear, $250, Shelley Scott, $200, Mello, $250, Lamberti, $400. Zeal, we never, in Newburgh, we never got a deposit from them. Of course, depending upon how they leave their space, but how do we go about authorizing reimbursement of the security deposits if you support that?
No, does security deposit and interest for them?
I don't think interest, I think you typically don't, I don't know that you typically give interest with refunding a security deposit, so
Not on a commercial usage, a residential is a little bit different. But I would say I would not refund anything until we've been released by our landlords. Once they've said we have it, no liability, then
Yep.
it.
Wouldn't that be spelled out in the lease agreement too? And maybe if it's not, then maybe we should add that as an additional for the new leases as well.
the release or specifics of,
Refund of deposit,
right, just actually the terms of that?
yeah.
It would be in the lease if not. Then you said make sure that.
I mean, I understand these are small businesses and that
Oh, I
couple
get
$100
it.
can help a lot, but if
Yes.
we're left with a cleanup bill, or the landlord goes in after we refunded and said, hey,
Damages and so on.
this is,
yeah.
this is damaged or that's damaged, we already ran into a problem with New Windsor and the garage that they leased, but then they couldn't lease and we had to get them out
I
quickly.
think it makes you crazy is just because of the maintenance items as well that we would actually get anything back. But again, that's not the way it was written. That's not the way we're gonna. I don't think it.
So that would just be my suggestion. Obviously, it's up to this entire board, but my thought process would be once our landlord has said that they're good.
Yeah.
Then we can start refunding.
Okay, when that's satisfied, I'll bring it back. Okay, terrific. Last item is really just however much you want to review these is up to you. But Sue, I think you had asked some questions about what we're paying, what we're losing. It was a document that you weren't privy to, but before you came on the board, we examined it very closely. And the chairman asked me to update it. You clearly wanted that. This is this
It's just
document.
easier for me to follow.
Sure. You see a lot of the dashes or zeros. Those are really locations where we're just no longer paying anymore because we're out of the lease. That's great. And I'm also going to give you these. These are kind of attachments that go with it. These are for the Accelerator locations. And I'm sorry. It tells you who the tenants are that are remaining. We had more in the past. They're not on here. So. Right, and I did not, let's say, I only included New Windsor, since we're talking about it, Middletown, since there are still folks there, and Newburgh, because we're transitioning out. Warwick, we're talking about it at length, the three of them. I guess I share that with you as well. It's just not the same losing proposition. We're mostly focused on how much are we bleeding.
I think we've other than as all of these ventures, I guess we have the gentleman working on lights. I guess they're moving over silk screen and the candles, the fragrance.
Yeah, scripted fragrance. Yeah.
And
Warwick.
is it pretty much the only ones, or the honey buzz
yeah.
too as well? They're doing.
Yeah, I think Honey Buzz is
hanging in there. I mean, after all the.
Honey Buzz, the ladies there are working hard. It's great. They're working a lot of shows and things like that, craft shows, things like that. I think they went to the floral show in Philadelphia. So they're trying. It's just, I don't think they're enjoying the kind of success that scripted fragrances. I know I've highlighted this before, but two big bumps they got was they were highlighted on CBS this morning, and their reporters went through the roof after that appearance. And then at Thanksgiving time, they were featured on the Thanksgiving Day Parade through Etsy. Etsy was doing some sort of promotion focused on businesses. They got their own highlight there. They got another huge bump.
There's like whoever, maybe not the news, maybe not CBS, but more like that. They must take something from that. There's nothing. They just.
No, I think Etsy, they're trying to, they sell on Etsy, so obviously they're trying to promote their own. I think for the most part, and I believe the news was just looking for those feature stories, some special interest stories or
Feel good stories.
feel good stories. That's more accurate, absolutely. So, and you see the column where you see the red font. That's one of the important ones when our leases expire. And you see that these did expire, and you see what's active still. And you see we're close on a lot of them. But it shows that square footage, the rental rate per square foot, what the monthly rent is, what we're paying in taxes, utilities, other CAMs, and then total that up. And then the column 3 to the right of the red font, total subtenant monthly rent. So that's taking these lists, which are other tabs on the spreadsheet that this exists on, and I'll share that with you all. And it adds those up, and then it allows you to kind of see what we're losing or netting from each location. You see Warwick is the only one where it's negative, it shows, but net monthly rent that we're paying, monthly rent plus CAMs. So if it's negative, we're not paying any incremental, any difference.
With the
there.
new leases, that should.
Well, so it's negative because negative is a good thing in this column.
Okay.
Positive, like $7,000, that means we're paying $7,000 a month above and beyond what we're receiving in any sort of revenues or recoup.
A month. So we're bleeding out $7,000 a month in Middletown.
Absolutely. Good news is that we're at the finish line here, but still another 5 months.
Yeah, that's
It is. You see
Been
New
doing it for
Windsor's
5 years.
a lot of money.
Absolutely. And you do see that we pay quite a bit at our headquarters as well at 4 Crowdy Lane. Mostly that's because we had doubled the space. It was renovated a couple of times, and
We don't need all that space.
no, we definitely don't. We absolutely do not. We had looked to try and bring another kind of another tenant that could sublease there that would be a good fit. There was one that was the Orange County Chamber. We thought that was a good fit. They just elected to go to another location they were looking at in Baybrook. So that didn't happen. And again, you can't just take anyone else in there. Really. So we're up in, that's not that long either,
8 months.
February, exactly. And we've already started looking for other locations, especially focused in Goshen. That seems to be where we want to be.
There's plenty of space down the street at 40 Matthews.
That's the only place I have an issue with, but because I think there are better locations, but
But I'm just saying, there's space in there.
no question.
You can reach out to, I don't know what number he is, Blaustein, Rich and Shapiro.
Sure.
They own that building, and
They own their own, that building where they are.
Yeah, they own the building where they are.
It's another idea I hadn't thought of actually, but there might be space there.
And I think they have some space in there.
It's a good idea. I will.
Yeah,
And
there's a bunch of spaces in Goshen on the office side.
Jim Rinaldi, we kind of,
Yeah.
asked him to step up with this, and he's already given us a bunch of these.
Yeah.
I've talked to a few people. My problem is that it's still early to be negotiating, especially some of these tenants are looking for, or some of these landlords looking for immediate occupancy. I could see if they want to give us a few months free rent, but I don't know that you'd want to do that, even though it's free. Do we want to leave somewhere where we'll continue to pay until February, through February?
Yeah, but I think we need to have a place secured by the end of this year, because you're gonna need some time for build out as well.
In the move and all the transition.
Right. Anyway, sorry.
But that's all the
I digress.
information.
Can we lock this room in for?
I'm gonna work on that actually. So I was talking to a couple of legislators about some of this concern.
Originally,
Communication.
it was supposed to be, and then we were told that we were not allowed. So.
Gonna revisit that.
Unfortunately,
After talking to the chairwoman.
We can't broadcast through this system, because the broadcast signal, the IP comes up as the Orange County legislator. And since we're not supposed to be affiliated with the legislator, it creates conflict of interest. So they'd have to get a different IP key for us to go through.
You hear when they were discussing that, or you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, whatever office you have, I would imagine you're not gonna have the public use there. You know what I'm saying? You'd have to worry about, handicap spaces, all these other things, which you should have to worry about. So you're most likely that's not gonna be fixed. So-
Well, I will tell you, I plan to bring some options where we could have meetings at the headquarters. If there's a conference room that's either part of the unit
Right,
or it's a shared space, like I just happen to know across the street from us, where Empire State Development is, there's the larger conference room, that's used by the tenants. That's an example. That's a setup that certainly can work for us. Has all the other amenities.
Flex space.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to do whatever you like. But I do raise that because it's something that I think can allow us to operate more smoothly, that, staff can be prepared if we're on our own
Yeah.
turf, frankly.
Right down the street on that corner, there's space in that building. That I know.
Right here.
Yeah,
Jim owns that, actually. I'm sure it's one of those.
there has been. I mean, I'd be surprised if it's built now, but between those two buildings, there's usually some space in there.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to end the meeting?
Yes,
We ready?
yes.
Okay. I don't know if you need a vote for that.
Aye.
I make a motion.
Motion to adjourn the meeting. Second.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Very good. All right.